trust funnels all day long, all day long. If like anyone who tells you that they have freedom in their business and they don't have a trust funnel, they're lying.
Yeah. What would happen if you could trust the power of your story, the power of your voice and your art? What would happen if you took up more space with who you really are? My name is Caroline, and this is the Creative Visionary Podcast. I believe that storytelling changes the world. I'm a film director, podcast producer, and storytelling doula. And this podcast is designed to empower you, the creative visionary, coach, artist, healer, or all of the above, to tell your story, create powerful video, and launch your podcast so that your people can find you. Because they're out there right now, looking for what you do exactly the way that you do it. My angels, hello. Welcome back, or to for the first time, the Creative Visionary Podcast. I'm sitting on my porch. There are birds chirping in the background. It's Saturday night. Don't we just love batch recording our podcast episodes and doing it all at once so we don't have to rush and podcasting gets to be easy for us? I hope that you're doing really well. I hope that wherever you are listening to this episode, that you feel exactly how you need to feel, because sometimes that's sad or down or bad, and it really just needs to move through the system. So feel those feelings, whatever they may be. I am thrilled about today's episode with my friend, Jamie Ratermann, who is a social media marketing businesswoman, like boss, who knows so much about the coaching industry and growing your business online. This episode is going to be filled with information for you, the business owner, the current or aspiring entrepreneur who wants to do the damn thing, who wants to make money doing what they love and gets a little stuck in the kind of like content production hamster wheel. Which platform should I use? How do I show up? How do I make money? All these questions. Honestly, this episode became a bit of a social media therapy session for me, because if you've been listening to the pod and following me over on Instagram, I've been sharing for like kind of a while now that my relationship with Instagram feels interesting. A little love-hate relationship going on there. I obviously love the podcasting space. I love being here. I love just being able to like speak into this microphone and be totally human and connect with you like this without seeing all of the content and the, new ways of like cracking the algorithm. Like it can really drive you crazy. So I got Jamie's perspective on this because, I really do have so much gratitude for Instagram. It's really brought me so much of my business. And I'm super, super grateful for all of the people it's connected me with, including like maybe you listening right now. So mucho gratitude. But we really dive into like how to have a healthy relationship with it, like refreshing your relationship with Instagram, with social media in general, which I needed. And I know so many of you need too. It feels a little like ceremonial in the sense of like, can we just approach this moving forward from a new, fresh perspective and do it in a way that feels good to me and not really buy into any of the other noise that's going on? So we talk about that. We talk about building trust funnels and the power of having these funnels set up rather than really relying solely on Instagram to make sales, which I love talking about because your podcast is a trust funnel. Yes, it is. It is an evergreen. Your podcast episodes are evergreen content. They're always out there serving your business. We talk about having boundaries on social media, which may include like muting your entrepreneurial friends, protecting your peace, staying in your own lane. We talk about the inevitable shadowy parts of ourselves and limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome that will show up. It's inevitable when you're pursuing your dream, when you're building your business and you're putting yourself out there, and how to channel your creativity in your business while also making sales. I talk about this a lot, like the approach of being so true to your art and to creativity and the, what's coming through your creative channel that needs to be expressed through your body, and also the needs and desires of your audience and your people, and running a business and making sales, and how we can do both of these things. And Jamie has a really beautiful take on this, which really landed for me. You'll hear me kind of have like an aha moment on this episode. So I'm excited for you to listen to this one. I'm also excited because this week is a really big week. I announced Authentic Voice, my totally free podcast workshop that I'm so jazzed on. If you have, been wanting to launch your podcast and, feel like you're blocked, you don't know where to start, you're intimidated, just get in the room here. Even if you're like a little bit curious about what would it take to launch my podcast? And I wonder if it would actually be an impactful thing for me to do. Inside of Authentic Voice, which is totally free, I'm going to teach you the 3 secrets to launching your profitable and impactful podcast so that you can grow your audience, AKA make money doing what you love. So we're going to talk about how to monetize, how to turn those listeners into paying clients, even if you don't have a big audience. And I tell my own story here. I had like no audience when I started the Get a Helmet podcast back in the day. And then how to produce your podcast in the right way, meaning like the way that's not stressful and not overwhelming. Because I feel like this is one of the biggest blocks that stops people from starting their podcast, is just feeling already overwhelmed with the tech and the editing before you've even started. And then how to get podcast listeners in the first place. Because another thing that I hear a lot is, what if nobody listens? And how is it going to be worth my time? Those kind of things. So we're going to break all of this down inside of Authentic Voice. I'm teaching this on May 8th and then again on May 9th, both at 6 p.m. Eastern. The link is in the show notes. It's going to be lit. It's such an amazing workshop. There's plenty of time for Q&A too, which is amazing. So bring all your questions that will probably come up during the workshop, or if you've got any like right now, burning podcasting questions, bring them to the workshop. I will answer them. It's going to be amazing. I'm pumped. I'm excited. And I'm excited for the next round of Spoken, which is happening in May. Pre-sale is open, so you can claim your spot right now if you want to just be like, I'm in, and you want to save money before the price goes up, which it will be going up. It may already have risen if you're hearing this. Click on the link. It's in the show notes for Spoken. If you want to launch your podcast with me and a group of incredible women, this creative mastermind is like blows me away. This will teach you everything, every step of the podcasting process, the creative, the production, and then the strategy, the monetization, and the growth. Like we really hit on all of it. So I'm excited for this round. So excited. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So all that's in the show notes. If you've got any questions, you know where to find me. I'm on Instagram at I am Caroline Aylward. And get ready for this episode. It's really filled with so much wisdom. And I'm so thankful to Jamie for being on. And I hope to see you inside of Authentic Voice, and better yet, inside of Spoken. It's going to be amazing. And then eventually to listen to your very successful, impactful, profitable podcast. Okay, my loves, I'm going to head to Trader Joe's. I will see you next time. Having a really good time is my love language. And sometimes this involves drinking wine, or in my case, mezcal cocktails, my favorite. But the truth is, I drink less and less alcohol each year. Alcohol amplifies anxiety, and it truly disconnects me from spirit. When I discover fun, calming beverages to drink in its place, I get so excited, especially when it has CBD and adaptogenic herbs. Recess combines hemp CBD and balancing adaptogens to keep you calm, cool, and collected. Hemp, American ginseng, L-theanine, lemon balm, easing that tension and brightening your mood. And it's low sugar and organic. The flavors are black cherry, pomegranate hibiscus, blood orange, one of my faves, peach ginger, coconut lime, blackberry chai. You really cannot go wrong. So head to takearecess.com and enter the code GETAHELMET, all caps, for 15% off beverages, apparel, and subscriptions. hour talking about like 5 juicy topics. And I really wish maybe I should start doing this, just hitting record as soon as we get on the call. And then it's like, if I need to edit it out, I can edit it out. But that organic beginning of conversation is just like the juiciest, the best. Hi,
I know.
Jamie.
I agree with that. I like the little chit chat. And I think I've like listened to a couple pods where you can tell they're just like setting up and it feels like you're in the room with them. I enjoy that. So I for sure. For sure.
I know. I feel like Armchair Expert does that pretty well. You can like hear them like even getting into the room, and like then they've started the conversation. They sit down by the microphone. And I was thinking like my director brain is like, I wonder if they tell them to do that. Like, how do they do that?
Even to What Now with Trevor Noah, he does that a lot too. And even to he like recognizes
Yeah.
his editors, like there are people that are on the pod with them, and I'm like, that's really nice. I enjoy that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. But I am excited to continue to dig into the things that we were already talking about. I'm so happy to have you here, Jamie, to like showcase your mastery and brilliance on the Creative Visionary podcast. I know we just did a Limitless episode, your pod, which I helped you get off the ground and launch. And now you've just like continued doing it and growing it. So we can talk about that for sure, how
Totally.
that's
I'd love
felt for
to.
you. But we've known each other for like a few years now. I mean, I
I think
feel
we're
like it
going
was
on
what, like
3. At
23.
least
Yeah, it
3.
was 3. We went deep, jumping into a mastermind together, connected outside of the mastermind. Like, yeah, it's been a beautiful entrepreneurial friendship, like dynamic of encouragement, because we all need it.
Always, always, always. Entrepreneurship was never meant to be alone, and you actually find some of the coolest damn people ever.
I know. It's so true. And we can talk all about how social media does that for us too. You know, like you meet people on social media and then you're like, wow, you're like actually my friend now. This is nice. This is refreshing. But what I like to do first, just getting into the energy of Creative Visionary, is ask you, what does creativity mean to you?
Ooh, okay. Well, I want to say, like, before we even get into anything with creativity, is it's a right to have. Like, I find it really frustrating when somebody comes in and says, "I'm not very creative," or even to like the people that are like, I am a creative," like it's a title that no one else can have. Like, we're all creative. I think that's like one thing that just like unnerves me. So like when
Mm.
someone says, "What does creative mean to you?" I would like, with the question that you're asking, it's one, like I want everyone to have it. But 2, it's exploring. I feel like creativity is exploration. What is it that
Mm.
allows you to, you know, share what you enjoy in life, your aesthetic, what's your vibe? What would you want more in the world? So you create it. So for me, creativity has a lot to do with going inward and feeling empowered to express that, whatever you decide to call art, outward. I know that sounds
Mm.
really philosophical in the way it sounds, but it's more of like it's for everybody. It's the point.
No, that was beautiful. I think that that makes a lot of sense. And it really is that. It's getting curious, it is exploring, it's trusting those little like nudges of, "Oh, I want to go over here. Maybe this would feel good." And leaning, letting that come forward, bringing that out for everyone else to see. I love that. And I totally agree. We are all creative beings in our own different ways. And I think it's so funny when people are like, "No, I'm not creative." And I'm like, yes, you are. You may not be like good at drawing or painting or, whatever, but their entrepreneurship in its how it is so creative. You're literally creating something from nothing. So, yes, you are
Okay, so
creative.
I have so much more to say about this, because there's so many things. Is that you are creative, especially for anybody who's like wanting to make money in their business. The top 5 skills, creativity is in the top 3. If you are like the people who are doing well, know that they are creative. Whether it's like finding creative solutions to problems, whether it's absolutely doing something that would be considered art, like don't like you if you ever say you're not creative, it's absolutely a limiting belief. You're cutting yourself off at the knees. Like, just like, what does creativity look to like to me? Like, for me, it's writing. Like, I'm a writer first, and I absolutely dive into the other things, and I'm okay with being bad at those things or great at those things, whatever it might be. But it was, my husband is an artist. He nurse slash artist, but in
Oh,
general, he just recently was at a art competition, and I was like, "Oh, I want to go. Can I come?" And he goes, "No, it's only for people who are participating. So you could pay to be a participant if you want to go in there." And I'm like, what if I just like wrote across the screen and just like wrote across this thing while you guys were all doing charcoal figures of this person who's posing? And it's just this idea of like, we get to share our perspective in whatever form it takes. And no one's bad in my opinion, but there are just people that are a little more respected because like they capture the human condition a little bit better.
so well said. I love that. And it's so cool to know that your husband, which P.S. congratulations. I know it's like been a little while now, but I feel like I have to like say
We're
that, put that
almost
out
at
into the
6 months, and I'm
ethers.
about to release all the photos. So that'll be like I'm hoping that people are ready for like the full release because we finally got all the photos and videos back. So
That
that
is so
we're almost at the six
exciting.
month mark.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Time flies. I feel like you had the most beautiful wedding when I was just like following along and seeing you on your big special day. So sweet.
It was so much
Yeah.
fun.
But
It was so much
you
fun.
mentioned limiting beliefs, and I want to like pause there because I feel like it's something that as a business coach, as this like marketing expert, you talk a lot about that. And I think that, it plays into this identity as a holistic business coach. So
Mhm.
tell us more about like what that means and how limiting beliefs like play into business.
Oh my gosh. It's everything in business, to be honest. Just to kind of give a little background, I've been doing marketing and business brand building for 14 years, and I've been a coach for now going on 7 years. And it was so funny. I think at the earliest part of my entrepreneurship journey was like, I got to be solid on the strategies. Like everyone's got to know exactly what to do, and I'll give them exactly what to do. And I'm happy to share the data. I'm a data queen. I love that stuff. But it was like I would put these strategies, these like here's the model, follow the model, things will happen, like the exact things in front of somebody, and it wouldn't it wouldn't happen. Like somebody wouldn't do it, wouldn't try it. They would freak out about even the thought of it. And I kind of thought to myself, like, there's something missing in the way I'm approaching this, because by definition to be an entrepreneur is like you're letting yourself be seen. You're a leader. You're wanting your ideas to, catch fire. You want people to see them and love them and like utilize them in your life. And just by saying that, it's a rebellious act against what we were all told as kids. Like we you walk in, you go to class, you don't cause too much attention to yourself, you fall in line, you get your work done. Like it's very much of like a we've been taught to just get by and like fit in. And
Mm.
to decide that you want to be a brand, to decide you want to be this big business or whatever however you're deciding to use social media, you're asking for attention, yes, but you're also deciding like, hey, I see the world and I think it deserves to be heard, seen, whatever that might be. And there's a lot of, I'm not allowed to do that. What will
Mm.
my family think? What will my parents think? What will my high school ex-boyfriend think? And then there's also perfectionism that gets thrown in there. There's just a lot of weight that comes with
Hmm.
how we see ourselves mentally that doesn't even allow you to begin your business. It doesn't even allow you to
Mm.
begin. Like you can have everything knowledge-wise sitting in front of you, but if you haven't healed or at least made a practice of processing some of those things that prevent you from even beginning, like it's kind of a mute point. So that's what it's all over online. Like mindset is almost more important than strategy, and it's because that mindset in general is what allows you to get started, what allows you to keep going when the strategies need to
Mm.
be shifted. And when you don't try to go after what are these limiting beliefs, which is a lot of the reason why I called my podcast Limitless, was just going like, we need to break free of the self-imposed bullshit that's sitting around us, because it's going to keep you in place. It's going to keep you right where you are.
1,000%. It's so interesting because you can know all the strategy, you can have all the templates and this and that. But if your own fear or lack of self-worth or, just kind of unprocessed, unhealed trauma is still kind of floating around in your subconscious, it's going to make everything feel harder and feel like there's a block in the way. So I love putting that at the forefront of this. I mean, I've come up against this. I've come up against this with you, like in the mastermind we were in together, like on calls we've been on together, like it comes up, and thinking of how can you be loving to yourself in those moments and not necessarily look at them as like a sign to stop,
Oh
but
yeah,
maybe a sign that you're doing the right thing, you're going down the right path.
totally, totally. And I think even understanding limiting beliefs, what it's when we're going into this practice or what it is, it's kind of asking ourselves to decide if we want to design our life, like to truly decide what we want our life to be, or do we let somebody else design it for us? And I know it can sound really harsh in some ways, but that like, I was just talking to somebody just
Mm-hmm.
about time management, productivity, what that looks like, and something as simple as I have had so many mompreneurs that will tell me like they don't have the time to have 20 minutes in the morning before they begin their day, and like this idea of, oh no, I'm a mom, I have to be this, I have to do this, or like even to entrepreneurs, I have to be at my desk by 9 o'clock, or whatever these shoulds that have been carried over from this is how things are supposed to be done. And it's
Mm.
this idea like, you simply decide what you want it to be, and you slowly set boundaries with yourself, with other people, and you train people on how to treat you, or you train people on what you represent, and people either mold or they're not going to be part of your ideal life. And
Mm.
it's these limiting beliefs are so much about fitting for what others want from us. And a part of what I love is that my clients who do their best, who make the most money, who do the things that they like, I literally just had this yesterday, they are like, I love myself again, like I feel like this is
Mm.
me, I feel like I'm taking care of me, it's funny how everyone else is fine with it. And it's like there's just so much of, you know that's what I want entrepreneurship to actually be, is this
Yeah.
idea that we all love ourselves a little more, we know how to process our emotions a little more, and with that we also make a lot of money. We also get to be
Yes,
a magnet for the skills, the passion, the things we put out there.
absolutely. So you mentioned social media, you mentioned like these limiting beliefs kind of coming up when when we're seen, when we're putting our stuff out there, it's time to share it now, it's time to like put your face out there. And I'm like scared to even open up this can of worms. That I have had a crunchy relationship with social media over the past like year or so. Um, I'm super obviously number one fan of the podcasting space. It's what I do. It makes me so happy. And then there's so many other platforms to show up on, right? Like, and
Mhm.
different ways to leverage them and blah, 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 blah. So, what do you say to someone who feels a bit of a block with the social media piece? Like for me, for example, it's the rinse and repeat kind of like like chase the algorithm. Like I don't want to have to just like use a trending audio just because it's trending. I don't that stuff drives me nuts, and it also works. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like this really annoying kind of like position to be in where people like, I mean, I've built most of my business on Instagram. People do it every day. They're making tons of money. They're showing up in their stories. They're making the reels. They're doing the stuff. And so there's just like trying to find this balance of this creating in this way and showing up on social media this way feels good to me, but I'm going to kind of ignore everything else that doesn't. And then where do we make the sacrifice of actually, this is what's actually working on social media. So just like do that to get more people in your world. And then once they're in your world, you can do whatever you want. So it's kind of this like feels like very existential in my system for me. Like I hate chasing the trends and the this and the that you're supposed to do, quote unquote, to get people to see your shit. And if you don't, then no one's going to see it. And if you don't post enough, no one's going to see it. And everybody's dancing and everybody's doing stuff and they're pointing at things. And I literally, like, I will burst into tears sometimes, like trying to post a reel, because I'm just like, this feels like no, like a no. So what are your thoughts?
Okay, this is we're going to begin our therapy session starting now. We're going to get our
I'm scared.
Okay, so I would absolutely say if anyone, and I know that Caroline is not like somebody who this is only happening to her. Like, it's happening to many people, and I think there's something to be said is that, all right, let's if we take out the algorithm, we take out the idea of reach, we take out the views, we got to come back to what's the purpose? Not just to like, oh, get new eyes on my things, but like, why do I want to write these little captions, make these little videos, do these photos? Like, why? Like, what is it that is going to allow me to do this every day when the views are fantastic and when the views are shit? So I think we have to come back to what's great about it. And me knowing you love the pod, you love the stories you're telling, you love, I mean, the way I see you, you're such a grounded voice, and you're giving such vulnerable stories, and you're really wanting people to know that they're not alone in what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you to do a external validation detox in its own way. So what if you went 30 days and you can decide what's the challenge? If you want to go big on it, you post every day. If you want to go like, oh, I want to do it 4 times a week, of what do I want to say, and I'll choose the mode that it is. And me knowing you're probably going to want to do a film. You're going to want to do a talk to camera. You're going to want to, in general, just share the things. So for me, the problem is, or at least the problem that comes up, is that we give so much of our control that, oh, this is good content if it gets views or if it gets engagement. And it's
totally
not, and especially with how Instagram currently works, it's not true at all. Like, it's like the people who have decent quality might grab the trending audio early, might be saying some BS, like they'll get high views, but they don't have staying power. They don't have people converting for them. They don't have
totally
all of the other things. So there's one thing about chasing trends, but you got to come back to step one with anything on marketing, anything in your business. You got to go, what is the intrinsic value of this? AKA, who is it? Like, when no one else is here, why would I keep doing this? And I think
totally.
I want people to realize that, like, let's just talk about social media being like you're writing your own biography of life, and let that be I get to write it. I get to start there. So that would be what I want to come back to. So I know what I think your intrinsic value is of posting on social media, but what would you say? Like, why do you want to put yourself or share your message on a place where people can find you like that?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, do I want to?
I mean, you clearly do it on the podcast. You clearly do it on the podcast, right? But
totally.
To be frank, pods, are great, but people find you for topics more than they find you for like specific things. It takes a while for someone to find you on a podcast search versus something on the gram where you can absolutely put videos, photos, things in your bio. So that like, why did you start the pod? And maybe let's see if we can translate it over to social media.
Yeah. Yes, I think number one, everything that you're saying makes a lot of sense. Coming back to the like intention and kind of taking away the external validation. These are great pieces that I feel like people listening will be able to take some nuggets away, of course, because this does come up for like all of my podcasters. Because I'm like, yes, let's leverage Instagram and social media to promote the podcast, to grow your business. Duh. And then there's this inevitable block that comes up, especially for the clients that I have that are kind of versions of me, that are the creative kind of spiritual women. And then they're like, have this block of stepping forward and making this content. But for me, I mean, the value of it is to encourage people to be more of who they are, to
Mhm.
share their voice, to believe that of course they have something to share. Of course that their art matters. Of course that their story is powerful. And when they share their story authentically, that other people who find it will feel parts of themselves within that. And
Mhm.
when that happens to someone, they're encouraged to be more of who they are. This is why I'm a filmmaker. It's why I do this. It's why I care about podcasting, because for me, honestly, it's like selfishly a little bit like when I'm listening to podcasts and or when I'm watching a film and I feel into these stories and these characters and I'm like, oh, cool. So that little part of me that is a little like a certain way, she's accepted because that person has that in their story. It's like expansion of your consciousness by seeing it represented in art. So that's that. When I can go back to that, then I'm like, screw this other stuff. You know what I mean? But you get
I
a
feel like I want to
little,
put this on a voice memo for you so you can listen to it whenever you post a reel, before and after. Like
yeah.
just let me just listen to this because it's beautiful what you're saying. Like it's completely beautiful. Exactly what I mean. Ultimately, this is like if I would say I want to start a movement, I want social media to feel like this for everybody. I want people to literally come in and going, if I post today, I'm encouraging one person, at least one person, to love themselves more, have an easier cooking style at home, feel more of who they are, feel that they're represented in the world. Like if this is why we use social media more than I hope I make money for how many followers I have, like all the platforms shift. Like every single one of them shift. And I think that this is kind of what it comes down to is when we lose sight of it, we got to come back. But why I brought up the 30 days of post whatever the fuck you want, but make sure you're posting consistently off of things that you love, that you want to share, that you know your clients have, and forget about the reach. Because what's happening is when you post like that, you're training the algorithm of what you want to be known for. You're training the algorithm of what
Mm-hmm.
kind of content you're going to be putting out there. So at the very least, it's going to be able to say, oh, got it. Caroline is somebody who's going to help someone be more of who they are, who's all about their voice, helping them represent themselves. When we don't post at all,
Yeah.
and we're just jumping on a trend and jumping on the next trend and hoping it takes off, it's like we're kind of going like, hey, we're trying on a whole bunch of different shoes, like please give us reach. That's kind of how the algorithm sees us until we establish who we are. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying we can do that training the algorithm, but ultimately, like if you leave a month's time of content and go, I'm so proud of every story I told, everything I put up there. I feel proud of what I've done. Like I like to call it pride scrolling, where you scroll through your own reels, scroll through your own content. Like I will look
Yeah.
at,
We all do it.
right? I'll look at like 2 years ago. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, JB was spicy that day. She was really
I
excited to
know.
say that. Oh my God, I said that. Like I can't believe I did that. And it's like that.
Yeah.
That's the goal. Like that is the primary, and then we're gonna add when you get to the point where you're like, oh, okay, I see what it's for. We'll start to talk about the triggers. We'll start to talk about how we're healing ourselves by posting, how we can start to talk about how we can add some small details that hold attention a little longer, that in general are going to be more likely to get us views, but I can't skip that first step. Or I'm going
Mm.
to have somebody who's like crying that I've been posting so much and nothing's happening. I'm worried about my bills, and I go, we needed the time for you to love this, and that
Mm.
because what's going to happen. I am not a fortune teller, but I'm very certain this is going to happen. In about 6 months, someone's going to be like, the Instagram algorithm changed again, and people are going to be
Yeah.
pissed. Things are going to change, and that's going to be constant. Because I can tell you, I've been doing this, like I said, for 14 years. The Facebook algorithm changed. People got pissed. It's not going to stay the same because we interact with these platforms different every single year, and they try to shift
I
so that
know.
they can hold our attention longer. And at the end of the day, they are businesses. It's going to work, but at the end of the day, we also are human. We've all changed. So like we are the reason the algorithms change so much. So we got to start with, we got to love what we're doing. We got to start there.
Okay, this is good. This is good. This is feeling good. This is like, it's good. It's what's coming through is the algorithm is going to change. What you're quote unquote supposed to be doing, what's cool to do, whatever is going to change. But your why and the passion that kind of motivated you to show up and do this in the first place, that stays anchored. So
Totally.
always operate from that place. And the rest of it is, you know, can be helpful, can be overwhelming, can be annoying. Take what resonates and leave the rest, and focus on staying true to that core, that why, to your story. And that feels, yeah, this is good. I feel like it is a therapy session. It kind of feels like an energetic cleansing in a way of my relationship with social media. I've thought like, do I need to have like a sit down chat with like Instagram? Do I need to like say like, thank you so much for everything you've provided for me? And like, also like, I'm not going to succumb to like all this shit that I see that's on here. It's driving me crazy. Like, do I need to have some sort of ceremony with Instagram? Like what's happening? And I'm launching season 2 of Creative Visionary in the coming month or so. And it's going to kind of return to its original design. It's going to return to really conversations about spirituality and creativity and the creative process. So what's coming through as we're talking is like, I think this episode should be the last episode of season 1 to lead us into this new chapter, because it's kind of like, yeah, the social media therapy session that I've needed for a year and a half / I know so many people need, because like, I feel like at first when we all got started in this crazy world of online business and like the coaching industry became a thing, it's like, holy shit, like anything is possible. Like you put some stuff on Instagram, you get people in your DMs, you could put some stuff in your link in your bio, make a good sales page, or just get them to book a call with you. You can make thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, so obviously we're all going to jump on this train. This sounds amazing. And now it's like taken on this whole identity, which is a whole other conversation. But where can we stay true to our work and our why, even, you know, despite what everybody else is doing, which sounds kind of like duh, obviously, but we do. It's easy to get a little lost in the sauce or get a little discouraged by what we're seeing around us, which maybe leads us to the next point about boundaries with social media. But anything that you want to kind of close that with?
I mean, I know this like sounds like and we're on a spiritual path, so let's like I'm totally in it, but also like we can ground our woo and our feelings with like true human psychology science here. Is that what we're talking about actually has been proven over and over again, that if you have an intrinsic why, and when I say intrinsic, it is for you, for nobody else. If for any reason your intrinsic why is, I want other people to see me, I want this to work out, I want I want this to make money, that is external. That's an extrinsic why. If you want to, if you actually want to be motivated, you actually want to continue going, if you have an intrinsic why, you are more likely to stick with that longer. You are more likely to wake up in the morning and you don't want to do it, but you don't come back to like, I want to make myself proud today. I want to bring myself joy today. I want to follow through with who I am today. And if it's powerful enough, like you got to make it like it needs to feel strong for you, you're more likely to keep going. Now, I'm not saying that the external whys aren't also motivating. They just have less staying power. Like if you want to, I want to make more money, it absolutely is going to pull you. Like it's going to get you there. But there's going to be a moment where you're going to be like, fuck this. I'm giving away all of my energy to something that I'm not sure is going to come back. It feels like I'm out of control. So whenever we're talking about motivation, consistency, what we want in our lives, it has to come like how we're nurturing ourselves internally first. And then what's funny about it, and like people love to talk about this, when we actually follow through with the things we want for ourselves, so those external things just seem to fall into place more than if we're trying to chase the carrot or trying to chase what somebody else is doing. We get tired of it because it's not in alignment with who we are or who we are authentically trying to become. So if
Correct.
you need an extra
Yes.
reason to be a little bit woo about the way you approach social media, it's actually going to give you longevity, resilience in the long term.
I love this clarification of the intrinsic why. And I feel like it really bridges a gap for me that I've been feeling a lot. I've been talking a lot on this podcast about Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act. It's being talked about a lot
I
in
read that last year, devoured it. It was so good.
Right? It's so good. It's so good. And it's being talked about a lot. So I feel like my podcast has kind of turned into a little bit of a review of that book, but like it's just good and it's just coming up. He so brilliantly talks about the difference between art and commerce.
Mm-hmm.
And art being something that you make and create because it must come through, because it's coming from your heart, from your soul, from your solar plexus. Like it's got to come out. You want to make this, you've got to express in this way. Commerce, business, is to sell. And to sell is to be really connected to the why, or the needs and the desires and the pain points of your clients, and to create and provide offers, services, products that fulfill those needs and desires. So you're really connected to that kind of external need, the niche, whatever it is, versus creating from the inside of who you are. And this intrinsic why that you're naming right now feels like the way to bridge those two things together, which has been quite a conundrum for me and everybody listening to this podcast, because it's like when you talk about art in that way, it sounds like a little bit selfish, right? You're like, well, I need to create this thing. It's got to come through me. But I view that as it's coming through in that way because other people need it. So it doesn't feel so selfish. But then commerce and business and sales are different in the sense of fulfilling the needs of your audience. So really getting to know that ideal client avatar, like, what is your niche? How can you be specific? And they kind of battle and do this dance for so many of us. But I think staying rooted in that intrinsic why, what motivates you to show up? What do you want to express? It keeps you kind of showing up for your business and doing that thing, but also staying true to your art and what keeps you going, what's sustainable, like you said. Like otherwise it's not going to continue. There's going to be no staying power. You're going to get bored. You're going to get overwhelmed. You're not going to like it. It's going to feel crunchy. And maybe that's been what's kind of been going on for me a little bit.
Totally. I mean, again, we were talking about my husband at the beginning of this, but like, I love him. He's fantastic. But like, if he every single day asked me to make him a meal, and there'd be a point like where my love's going to run out. But like me reminding myself every day that I need a meal, like that I need this, like I'm going to do that for a little longer than somebody else is asking for me. So that I know like we're doing this long in like an outward metaphor, but it's like being selfish. We get to redefine it, because I think selfish people immediately make it equal greedy, and that's not the truth. It like selfish is, in my opinion, the way what I would like people to see it is that the more I am myself, the more I take care of myself, everyone around me is taken care of. Because fill your own cup, we fill others, sure. But I want you to go like, what does it look like for me to absolutely love myself, to trust that I'm going to follow through with things, that to trust what I'm saying is worthy of being heard, even if it's just me rereading it a month later, whatever that might be, like that, like allowing that to be the core. And
totally,
I don't know, it's been proven to me over the last 6 years of how many times my clients that do their best are going to tell me a self-love and a self-trust story more than they're going to tell me first that they had a whole bunch of money that came in, which again, they do. It's just they're going like, but it's through like loving myself. And that's a large part of my own journey. I like when I met you walking into the mastermind, I was a hustler baby. When someone told me like, oh, you know what? Like I thrive under pressure. I'm like, I thrive under pressure too. And I love it. And it was like this badge of honor from all of these years of being a type A people pleaser, all the things of like, I can do it all. And let me show you. And then the more I realized, the more I was like, I just want to lay on the couch all day because I don't feel like myself. I don't want to do these things anymore. And then I got to a point where I was like, I'm putting myself through the ringer, and supposedly I'm my own boss, and supposedly I'm supposed to love this. And then I got to a point like going, what is it that I want people to know me for? And understanding who you help and like your ideal client can help you understand what that is. But
Totally.
when it gets, I like to call it white knuckling. When you start to like white knuckle any strategy, it's not a good idea. Like when you're starting to like, I got to niche down, it's got to be this way, or I got to make sure like I'm the only person these type of people come for. Like it's like I said, like white knuckling
Right.
it. You get to a point where like it's desperation energy. It's like it's
Yeah.
you'll do anything to be liked. And in the real world, we know when
Bad
that
energy.
feels disgusting. And then, but when it's on social media, it's like, why am I not getting more likes? And it's like, maybe it's
Yeah.
because you're not doing things you love for yourself, and then go from there. But I digress. We could talk about this subject forever. Please do so. Post and post often. Train the algorithm, great, but train yourself that you're worthy of being heard. Period.
Yeah. Ooh,
And
so
then talk about
good.
boundaries. And then we can
I know. And then mute your friends on Instagram. Let's talk about.
Oh my gosh.
But really, truly, like protecting your peace, right? Like my sister just texted me this morning and it's like, protect your peace, Caroline, dealing with something else. I'm like, easier said than done, right? But what is your view on boundaries on social media, following, not following, muting, staying in your lane? Because it's one of the things I love so much about the podcasting space. You really can stay in your lane. We're here having this conversation and I don't have to look at what anybody else is doing right now. I get to be here with you, be present, and just show up and have a conversation. Like, yum.
Totally.
So how do we
Totally.
create that on social media?
There's so many ways. And so first and foremost, let's just start with cleansing. Just like you would cleanse kind of, or like even to declutter your house. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of bothering you, whatever it might be. You have every right to unfollow people. I would even encourage it. Like I even at the beginning of this year, I did like who do I actually engage with? Previously I was a fashion queen. I loved all of the fitness trainers. I had all like just tons of like random follows. And now I go like, even if like I like this brand, but even if they came in my feed, would I care? Like what do I need to follow them? Or do I want what's the environment I truly want to have in here? And I think about who educates me, who inspires me, who I want to stay in touch with, and I leave the rest. If I want to hear about all the other things, it will get to me. I know this sounds really crazy, but like I don't have to be a consumer of all media. I just get to be, and this is wonderful about the time we live in, I get to consume the media I choose to.
Totally.
So that would be the number one thing. Go to, and this will take a little while, but go to your current following list, like who you're following. And then you can say like oldest to newest. So they let you like filter that on Instagram.
Nice.
And just start to unfollow. And then if there's someone like, do I still want to follow them? Click into their feed and go like, what do I like their first three? Do their first three posts make me feel good, or make me feel like
Yes.
something that lets me think through a couple things or reflect on what I want, whatever it might be. So in general, I have done a cleansing of like celebrities that I don't even engage. Like I'm like, why do I want people who like either trigger me in the right way or pull or inspire me to keep going. So like I think there's a whole sense of that. So that would be number one. For the people you decide to keep, like say it's your friends, it's your past coaches, it's your competitors or whatever it might be, you enjoy their stuff, but you want to choose when you see it, please mute them. Just mute them.
Yeah.
Like they don't know that they're being muted, and it's totally fine. It's exactly what you were saying, like saving your peace, like being able to have those particular things is such a big part of it. But in general, like I have many of my friends who are entrepreneurs are also coaches. And especially in the past like year and a half, 2 years, I was like, I want to make sure what I'm saying is me. Like I want to make sure that even though I love them, I love their perspective, I'm not reacting to what's going
Totally.
on. I'm instead getting in my, like, I like to do a good talk to camera in my stories every day. Like, hey, this is what's I'm focusing on today. This is what's a big deal for me. But within that, like, just mute them. Like I have a couple friends that have noticed that I'm not in their stories, or have noticed I'm not like DMing them as much as I used to a couple years ago. And I'm like, we are friends. Text me. And then if there's something you really need me to see in your stories, I'll go over there. But even too, like, I kind of sometimes like, oh, I miss her. Let me go check on her, versus, oh, wow, she posted today. She's launching something. She's selling something. I'm behind. I need to do those things. Mute them for a while. Just mute them for a
Totally.
while. The last thing
like
I would say
this.
too is get an app that prevents you from going on social media mindlessly. I love an app called OneSec, which is I think it has a payment component, but from my understanding, it is an app built by an ex social media engineer. So in general, was something that, like, he's like, all right, stop saying like, oh, I'm going to put a little time limit or what it's going to be. He's like, I know that you're going to still go on there and mindless scroll. So what it does is that you set it up, and you set it up for certain apps that you want to have a mindful break. So it makes you take a 60-second breath. So it's going to take a while for the screen to let you go into there. And then you're making an intentional choice. Like, why are you going in? And then if you, depending on what you want to do, it'll say you've reached your limit. Then you have to either take another breath, or it's like you've reached your limit, you're done for the day. And I will say that probably reduced my time on those apps by I'll be fully admittedly, there were days that I would spend a good 8 hours on social. That's between a couple platforms, right? And I'm probably on the regular at most 2 hours, and on the weekends it's like non-existent. But the idea is, it is going to not only interrupt me, but making me engage with my nervous system to actually make a choice. So I would say, like,
so good.
aside from doing these like manual things for yourself, there's full teams of engineers trying to keep us on social, that and I like to call it the yuck. Oh, I've been doing a mindless scroll. I'm feeling like the yuck of like, what did I do today? What are my own thoughts today? What's going on? And then you just realize, oh, I've been on this scroll hole for this long. I'm gonna let an engineer help me pull myself out of it, because I know social media is really important to our generation and everything we're doing. But I want to have an app tell me, like, hey, you promised yourself only 15 minutes on TikTok today, and do you want to keep going? And you're like, okay, you're right. I want to stop this, because I engage my nervous system to actually have that thought.
This is amazing. Yeah, because I find too, like, it's been a particularly like stressful kind of activating time since the beginning of the year for me. And so like the numbing by scrolling, sometimes feels like great, because you can just kind of be out of your head and like not even present at all. But I've noticed that it's just gone way up. And I'm like, girl, what happened to reading yourself to sleep and like doing your breath work before you pick up your phone? Like, let's get back into that. So I feel like everybody listening can use a little bit of an encouragement and some help in rewiring that relationship. I love that. I love that there's like apps that can, with engineers, like trying to get you away, because there's such a pull in getting you to stay, where I'm like, I can get down with that. I can really get down with that. I know we've touched on so much, like the social media piece, showing up authentically, telling your story. I want to just hit on selling a little bit, because I know that we can do all the things that we want to do that feel good and authentic to us. But at the end of the day, you do not have a business if you're not making sales. So selling is a requirement, and people forget to sell. I forget to sell. And, take breaks, do whatever you need to do, but you make sales when you're selling actively, or you have funnels and things working on the back end, which for me is 1,000% the goal. But
trust funnels, baby, show up all day long. Trust funnels all day long. If like anyone who tells you that they have freedom in their business and they don't have a trust funnel, they're lying. They're like, I'm so free, but I had to send 17 DMs today, and I had to do this and I do that. Going like, I love a good DM. I'm not saying that, but like again, trust.
Totally. Me
Like
too.
let's just take the like if we could have a whole podcast about how trust funnels are the most connective, inviting thing to do, and I would love to do that. But start with the fact that social media really isn't a place for you to go buy my offer and that's it. I've
Yeah.
absolutely even invested in coaches who are like, I just sell every day and it works. And I have shit for engagement. People only think that I sell all the time, and that's I talk about money. That's the only thing I talk about, and like and how much money I'm making, and da 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 da. Like it's like all of these things, and I'll be like, well, great. Like if you talk about what you sell, and you talk about buy my offer, buy my offer, buy my offer, you're going to get some bites. It's going to happen because that's all you're going to talk about. Great. But as far as
Mm-hmm.
like, we're going back to this longevity, we're going back to this like, do we love this? Do we enjoy this? And then also, does this actually function long term for like the human condition? No, selling every single day is just not, it's not going to be the thing. It's not going to be the thing. So this is where whenever somebody talks to me about selling and they're like, oh, selling is so icky, we got
Mm-hmm.
to come back to what it truly is. You have a passion, you have a value, you have skills. For you to be able to do more of that, you have to trade it for money. Because money is what gives us convenience. It's what allows us to, up level what it looks like. Even to when somebody's talking to me about their ideal client, I go, just to start, your ideal client can't afford you. Period. Like we're like
Mm-hmm.
that they have to be in the wheelhouse of they can afford you, because once you get a whole bunch of ideal clients that afford you, you can start to create the smaller pieces that might be for someone who's not ready to make that level of investment. But in general, the
Totally.
idea is, let's come back to what selling truly is. I have a product that I think is going to make a difference. I've built it. I have experience in it. I have a service. It's going to transform someone's life. It deserves someone's, at the very least, investment of time, energy, and money. Like this is what we're doing. So let's start with that. So when someone says it's icky, I'm like, oh, so you changing someone's life, you wanting to help someone reach their next level, you wanting to help somebody feel better in themselves is icky.
Totally.
That's something we can start with. But also the second piece is, all selling is relationships. It really is. So how do we create really good relationships is understanding who it is we're talking to, making sure they feel heard, sticking around, being around, letting them know that they can trust us, and having direct conversations, having sometimes vulnerable talk, sometimes simply like showing that you are an authority that understands where they're coming from. So when somebody talks
Definitely.
about selling online, you can always have your offers on display. In your, like if we're talking about Instagram specifically, in your highlights, in your link in bio,
Mm-hmm.
a mention in your stories, an indirect mention in your captions, all of that can be a part of it. But your DMs should be absolutely a place where all of the trust building content, aka like your authority content, saying like, this is what I've learned, I've been where you are, this is how you get to where I am, or this is what I've learned along the way, or these are the mistakes I've made, I want to help you, this is my why. Like again, these are all things that can be really strong about the way you share. That's when we start to bring in, okay, if this is something that you are ready to take the next step, here's a trust funnel, here's DM me, open up the conversation, here's a masterclass, or of
Mm-hmm.
course everyone of course, like here's an offer for you to come in. So I think when we talk about selling online, it has to come from a connection place first, a relationship place first, and all the other things that come after that usually are going to feel more convenient, more nurturing, more pleasant. I could keep
Absolutely.
talking. Do we have another hour?
I know. Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's so much to dive into, but basically the moral of the story is the showing up consistently, showing up in this way that we're operating from that intrinsic value, what matters
Mm-hmm.
to you, being very connected and understanding deeply the needs and desires of your people that should tie in directly to the things you're selling. Are the things that you're selling answering the questions, fulfilling the needs and desires of the people that you're trying to talk to, like very simply. And this is why, like in my podcasting course in spoken, like we focus on this because a lot of people, I don't want anybody putting their podcast out into the world that is going to be launching to crickets. I don't want that. I want you to be speaking directly to your people, and I want you to have another place for them to go, like that's
Totally.
going to actually build that trust. So whether it's pointing them to, yes, a free class, a paid, maybe like a low ticket offer, maybe it's all these other little things that you can point them to get them to that next step. Some of them will buy the paid thing right away. That's absolutely happened to all of us. Some of them need time. Like I've had people following me for like 5 freaking years that like took my body image and empowerment course that have jumped into spoken, you know? So it's like, keep showing up.
Mm-hmm.
That consistency does matter on social media. I'm gathering
Oh,
that from the conversation.
well,
And
even too, like,
because
go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
it's building trust, like because like you said, just showing up and selling every single day is not going to work. People need to like understand you. They need to know you, which PS is where a podcast really plays into that. But showing up consistently, building that trust, operating from that intrinsic value, and selling because you have something that people need.
Totally. And the kind of like a couple things within that, just kind of to leave this in a good place, is that ultimately the difference between something like social media, even the podcast, is that people are learning about themselves by listening to your story. And the difference
Yeah.
between someone who is a buyer and someone who's just following along is that they're somebody who's engaging with your social content is usually like trying to be aware of what they might be missing. Like
Yeah.
they're learning that, oh, I can look at life differently, or oh, she has the solution to this problem, or oh, maybe this is going to help me. And by
Mm.
being around and by sharing things that are even like words they use, things that they struggle with, desires that they want to have, if you are repeatedly talking about those things, someone goes, oh, I already was aware, I'm ready to change this. That happens through time.
Mm.
Just
Yeah.
like, and I like to talk, people like to use the analogy of dating. Who wants to date a car salesman? Nobody really. If that's if that's the energy you're bringing into your dates of going like, we should get married. We should do this next. We should do this right now. You want to get married? Let's go ahead. Let's go get married. You're like, ooh, clingy. Damn, desperate.
That
Okay,
would
wow.
not
This is
work for me.
right? Versus like, what's your favorite road trip? What's included on it? Oh, you know what? Some of the issues that come up along the way, we could make sure that we stop along these really great routes where I've been there
Ooh.
before. There's like, you're talking about all of the ways, like, would you like to go on another date? Would you like to talk through these things? And this is what you're inviting people to do until they're at that I'm ready to buy. Because I think that's one thing
Yeah.
about the difference between someone who's engaging with you on social media versus someone who's an email subscriber. Really, like
Yeah.
there's usually like a personal or persona shift. Is we're just aware. We want to learn about things. We want to engage with people. We're not in this mode of like, I'm searching and trying to buy from somebody. I'm looking to get some entertainment,
Totally.
relatability. But when someone decides, oh, I'll give you my email, I'll hang out with you, I'll come into it, they're starting to go like, is this the person that's going to help me change this piece of my life that I would like to be a little bit better? So I think that whenever we're
Definitely.
talking about all of this and selling on social or what it might be, is you're helping people, one, be aware, but you've got to allow them to go down this path to, I'm ready to buy, I'm ready to change my life, I'm ready to transform at their own
Yeah.
pace. And the people who quicken that pace have marketing channels, have a podcast, have YouTube, have places to go, because they're consistent. They're in their world, because we're more or less the ones that are marketing often. We're like, we want to date you. We want to show you we're committed. We love you. And
Yeah.
you like you're going to get a lot of us until you're like, okay, yeah, they're in it. Maybe I'm committed too. So I think that's, I
Hmm.
could, I don't want to talk about this in marketing lingo because it's not true. We're connecting, and we all deserve to be paid for what we do. But the way in which you approach marketing is to just in general warm people up to go, I trust you. I'm ready to invest in you because of all the things you've given. And I would absolutely say, and this is a push for Caroline, is that the podcast in general, like no matter what my numbers have ever been, is that whenever somebody's definitely going after some of my higher ticket offers, they are like, yeah, I binged your podcast over the weekend. I'm like, binge it all day, baby. I would love for you to spend all your time with me. That sounds fantastic to me. And it's essentially somebody saying, I went on a weekend vacation with you and I want to keep talking. And so like that, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yes. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because I know for me personally, when I find someone that I like or I'm resonating with, I'm going straight to see if they've got a podcast. And if they do, I'm taking my hot girl walks and I'm going to walk my ass around the block and I'm going to listen to their podcast. And it makes me feel like I know them. So thank you for sharing all of that wisdom. I think it's a really beautiful refresh on social media, boundary setting, marketing, selling, which are the same thing, showing up authentically, and the why behind all of it. You know, I think it's good. I think it's good. It's good for me. It's good for the podcast. Like I said, it feels like an energetic reset, a period at the end of the sentence for season 1 of Creative Visionary. And I just love that it came forward in this moment. So please tell all of the people, the humans listening to this right now, what's going on in your world, where they can find you. If this stuff has really resonated and they're like, wow, I really need Jamie's help, like what's the next step for them?
Beautiful. Amazing. I thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited that you feel like this is a wonderful refresh. So it makes it just best part of my day. But I would say,
No.
if you listened in, this was one of the most like holistic way I've been able to talk about marketing a long time. So it's been really lovely. This is what I bring into everything in my programs and my membership and in what I do, because I want you to be a whole person. And then we add the marketing strategy. Then we get to be this person. So I gave Caroline a link here, which is my free mini course, which helps you to define that intrinsic why, but also how to set up an easy way for you to show up and what you want to be known for and represent yourself. So that's there. You can always find me over on Instagram or really any social channel at Jamie Ratermann. That's JamieRatermann. We got the double N.
Double N.
but also too, like Caroline and I've been talking, I started my own podcast, Limitless. We're just passing the 100th episode, which is incredible.
Wow.
So feel free to spend some time over there with me, because I talk about this stuff all the time, my own stories, marketing strategy, all of the above.
Heck yeah, Limitless. Oh man, I can like see the cover art right now. Like, yes, I'm so 100 episodes. That's amazing. What a celebration and a full circle moment to be here having this conversation with you after launching it together. And thank you for sharing your wisdom. And I'm so grateful that we were able to chat through all these things today. And I feel like the energy will shift a little bit for me with the social media thing.
My heart is open just in the way we talk. So I'm hoping you feel the same way. Because
Me too.
This might have been therapy for you, but I'm happy this feels good for me too.
So good. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.